Am I completely crazy for thinking this? When you do work for someone, you expect to get paid, right? I don't think I've ever contracted anyone to do a job and not expected to pay them at the end of it. I mean, that's kind of part of a life, right? You get someone to do a service for you, or you buy a product, and then at the end, you pay. Although it seems like I'm stating the obvious, you might find it incredible to know that this year at Artisan Electrics, we have had somebody who has flat out refused to pay for the service that we've given them. In fact, not just one person, but several people. In today's video, I'm going to spill the beans and share with you exactly what happened. And I'm going to share with you my top 3 tips for making sure that you get paid on time, every time. So the first time a customer refused to pay this year was actually nearly a year ago now. We were doing an electric vehicle charging point installation, and believe it or not, it was not a customer like we would normally do. It was not like a residential home owner. It was actually another company. And we don't usually do that, but we were a little bit quiet at the time, and so we were like, you know what, let's take on the job. However, alarm bells started ringing when they sent us the specs of which charger they wanted us to install. And it was really weird actually, because it turned out that I had worked for the customer who they were kind of the middleman for. I went out to do a site visit in order to give them a price. When I got there, I was like, hey, I know this place, I know the customer. I was a bit gutted because I could have worked for the customer directly and saved a lot of headaches, but because I had said to this company, this national EV charging company, that I would take on this job for them, I felt, you know, I should keep my word and actually quote the job through them so that they get their cut. How it would work is I'd quote them for the job, they would quote the customer would pay them, they would pay me. And that's when big problems start to occur. But that wasn't the only customer who refused to pay this year. There was a second customer, a residential customer who we were working directly for, who refused to pay, but in a kind of unusual way. Now, before I go into this story a little bit further, there's 2 caveats here. First of all, I understand that if we had done a bad job, the customer would have completely been within their rights to not pay. You know, you go to a restaurant, there's a fly in your soup, or you receive a product that is defective, you don't pay. Totally cool with that. However, that was not the case in these particular situations. The customer was not contesting the quality of our work or our customer service. They were just flat out refusing to pay for what we had done. But there's another thing to say here too, which is that I've been in business now as an electrician for 20 years, and I could probably only count a handful of times when customers have refused to pay. So although it seems like, you know, quite dramatic, actually when I put it into perspective for my business, we're very fortunate with our customers. And it's very, very rare that this kind of situation happens. And the reason for that is because we've got certain rules of the game that we follow when it comes to vetting customers, and we've got other things that we do that ensure that customers do pay and that we don't take on bad customers that we're never going to pay in the first place. But whenever I bend the rules or scrap the rules for some reason, that's when it all goes wrong. And I'm going to share with you some of those rules a little bit later. So we're heading into the centre of Cambridge. We've got some work at a hotel that we're doing today, but I'm literally just about to drive past the job where we got shafted basically by the contractor. It's so ironic because it's like a £5 million house, right? And it was that classic thing of the customer Googled EV charger installers or whatever, and one of these national EV companies has got paid ads on, you know, for EV chargers. They just funnel people in, offer them a stupidly low price, and of course the customer took the bait. But what they didn't realize is that they were going to get probably the worst quality charging point I'd ever seen, and I should have refused the job when I saw what charger that they were offering, because we only fit high quality products, right? And this charger, I'd never even heard of it before, and the contractor did not even know whether it needed RCD protection or not. But anyway, I went in, did the survey, had a nice chat to the customer, worked out a way to do the install safely, and sent a quote, and surprise, surprise, it got accepted. So then it's like, okay, we've got to do the job. So we did the job. There were a few issues, like the materials didn't turn up on time, all of that classic stuff that, you know, is already a logistical challenge for any business, but when you're subcontracting for someone else, it gets a lot worse. And job finally got finished. We put our invoice in, nothing. Our finance assistant is on it. She is really good with credit control. So she, you know, does regular contact touch points with the customer to find out, you know, when are you going to pay, why have you not paid, etc. The issue then is contacting this company to actually chase up the payment. And their communication was like non-existent. It was impossible to get hold of them. The first lesson is, if you're working for another contractor, always do your due diligence. What do I mean by that? Look into the company, look at their reviews online, check them out on Companies House, make sure that they're actually solvent, because you might find that they're actually heading into liquidation, or if you have a look at their accounts, that their accounts actually look pretty scary. Like if they've got loads of terrible reviews, which if I'd have searched this company up, I would have seen that they had tons of terrible reviews, then I could have said like, nah, sorry, we're not working for them. If I'd have looked on Companies House and I would have seen that they were teetering on the brink of bankruptcy, again, alarm bells would have sounded and I would have probably got out of there unscathed. But as it was, I was a bit naive, ploughed in there because we just needed to get the calendar filled up that week, and learnt the hard way. So that's my number one lesson. So that was the subcontracting job. Let me tell you about the other job, which is also a nightmare. So the other customer who kind of refused to pay, but not exactly, was a residential customer that we just did an EV charger for, right? There seems to be a theme here, EV chargers. So the job was done. When the customer got the invoice, she said, can I pay in installments? Well, actually, she didn't just say, can I pay installments? First of all, she just went quiet for ages. And so then when we started to chase her, then she started to say, can I pay in installments? And we never do that. Like, that's just not a policy that we have. But she was saying, oh yeah, I agreed with you at the start of the job that I could pay in installments, which was completely false. The challenge we then had was to try and get the money out of her for this job. And I'll tell you how it ended up, because it was a bit of a legal battle in the end. But my second top tip for you guys is vet your customers properly. And what does that mean? It means have a conversation with them before the job starts about budget. Make sure that they can actually afford the job. You know, if customers start asking like, do you offer any credit lines or anything like that? For some big jobs, maybe, yeah, that would make sense. But for a small job like an EV charger, if somebody's having to get credit for that, it starts to ring alarm bells, right? And have very clear terms and conditions as well. So our terms and conditions clearly state 50% deposit up front, final balance on completion of the job. That's it. There's no payment options, payment plans, all of that stuff. And in general, our customers are fantastic. They come to us because they want a great job doing. They know that we charge a bit of a premium because we are Artisan and we offer 5-star customer service. But they see the value in that and are willing to pay whatever we ask. So if a customer comes to us and can't afford us, they are not our customer. They're not our target customer, that's it. But that's down to us to vet our customers properly to make sure that a customer who isn't our target customer doesn't end up in the pipeline somehow. Vet your customers, that's my second tip. Now going back to the story of the job where we subcontracted to another company for the EV charger, we eventually managed to actually get hold of them on the phone after chasing for about 2 or 3 months, I think. And we got through to the guy who owned the company, and it was at this point that the customer said something that I will never forget. By the way, if you've ever experienced a non-payer yourself, hit a thumbs up to show your support. If you haven't subscribed already, please do. So where did we get up to? Oh yeah, I left you on a cliffhanger about the thing that this guy said to me that completely took me by surprise. When I spoke to him finally, he admitted to me that actually his company had gone bust. They'd gone into administration, and he said this. He said to me, well, you could try invoicing our new company and we'll see if we can pay you or not. And guess what? They didn't pay. It was a whole load of rubbish. So the other thing that is really important when it comes to customers is actually making them pay a deposit up front. So that is my third and most important tip. If a customer's not willing to pay a deposit up front, you know they're probably not going to pay you when it comes to the final bill. It also means that you at least secure enough money, hopefully, to cover a lot of the materials on the job, so that if they don't pay the final invoice, at least you've covered some of your costs. And it's just standard practice in the industry, to be honest, anyway. But you probably want to know what happened about the lady who wanted to pay in stages. I'm heading to the wholesaler. I'll tell you about that when we get there. And while we're on our way, I want to tell you about an exciting new online community that I've created for business owners like me and like you who struggle with challenges like this. I know the pain of trying to run your own business, all of the growing pains, all of the lessons, the school of hard knocks, the learning, and sometimes you can feel quite alone. So I've created a free online community. It's school.com/electricians, and it's basically a place for aspiring business owners or people who are running their own business who want to take it to the next level to learn from me. So you've got my entire Electricians business course on there for free. Also have a community of like-minded individuals who want to improve and help each other. And also we have a weekly meet up where we have like a coffee chat and just discuss the challenges and try and help each other out with tips. So if you want to join that, there'll be a link below. As I said, it's completely free. I've got a strict vetting process for it, but try and come over. We'd love to have you with us. So with the lady who wanted to pay in installments, turned out that was just an excuse. And in the end, she just didn't pay at all. So we sent multiple reminder letters, getting more and more kind of serious and urgent. And then eventually we said, well, if you don't pay, we're gonna have to take you to the small claims court. And this was the first time ever for me actually doing that. And we took her to the small claims court and we got her to pay. So in the end, it was a good result, but it was a horrible process to go through. And it took a lot of like effort and admin time and stress on our part. And obviously it wasn't nice for the customer either. So the lesson for me is vet your customers properly first. Make sure they pay deposit invoice in advance before you book the job. And if you're working if you're subcontracting for other contractors, make sure you do your due diligence before you agree to work for them. And that is my 3 top tips that I've learned the hard way. Hopefully you'll enjoy them. And if you have enjoyed this video, there'll be 2 more videos popping up on the screen now that YouTube thinks you'll enjoy.